5 weeks ago, the Green Bay Packers were 4-6. Who said they were done? I never said they were done. I said the season was on the brink. I said they needed to win big. I said one more loss, it could potentially be over, but I never said 5 weeks ago Green Bay was done. Fast forward to right now. 5 wins later. And the Green Bay Packers will play Detroit next week for the NFC North title. No matter what happens tonight between Detroit and Dallas, Detroit can clinch a playoff spot tonight with a win, but no matter what, next week will be for the NFC North title. The game has already been flexed to Sunday night, so America will be watching. And man, go Pack, go. The Pack is back. And Aaron Rodgers is the guy that you want in this situation. Now, if Detroit wins tonight, they will be 10-5. But Green Bay is 4-1 against NFC North competition, so they will have the tiebreaker over Detroit. And, of course, they had a win against Detroit earlier in the year. Saturday, Christmas came early for the Packers with a dominating win over the Minnesota Vikings, 38-25. And Aaron Rodgers was elite Saturday. Elite. 28 for 38, 347 yards, 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. That's Madden numbers right there. That is Madden numbers. And he had a rushing touchdown. Jordy Nelson, dominant. 9 receptions, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defense, outstanding. Clay Matthews forced a fumble, recorded a sack. Nick Perry sacked Sam Bradford twice. Joe Thomas had 9 tackles. Again, the Pack is back. Now, I'm going to give you guys this question. If you are playing for a division championship in Week 17 and you're on the road, who do you want as your quarterback? Who do you want as your head coach? To me, it's simple. It's Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. And to think that these guys wanted Mike McCarthy fired weeks ago. Now, listen, Green Bay, I don't want to hear it about Green Bay losing to Minnesota last year in the winner-take-all title game. Because this team is not the same team as Green Bay's team last year. And Green Bay ended up farther than Minnesota in the playoffs. Thank you very much, Blair Walsh. So yeah, Green Bay went in as a wild card last year and nearly dethroned the Arizona Cardinals in overtime. And Minnesota goes in as a division champions. They have a home game against Seattle. They play poorly at home, and Blair Walsh misses a chip shot to send them to the NFC divisional round against Carolina. Now, this team is not the same team as last year's Green Bay Packers. I think this team is more focused. I think this team is more set on the will to win. I think this team is more experienced than Detroit in this scenario. Again, if you are going for a division championship in Week 17, who do you trust more? The answer is Aaron Rodgers, people. And again, they wanted Mike McCarthy fired weeks ago, and everybody had the question, well, who are you going to replace him with? This is why Mike McCarthy is the head coach still. This is why Aaron Rodgers keeps telling the fans to relax. Because Sunday night now, New Year's Day, we are going to have an NFC North winner-take-all title game. And if Detroit loses tonight, this could be an elimination game for one of these two teams. More so for Detroit. Detroit can clinch a playoff spot with a win tonight against Dallas. I'm not ruling that out because Dallas has already clinched the 1 seed. They've already clinched the NFC East. They've got nothing to play for tonight. Can Dak and Zeke be benched later in the game? Maybe. I don't think they should be because, honestly, you already have a week off. Give them as much time as possible. Can they be benched? Maybe. Do we see Tony Romo tonight? Possibly. There's definitely a good chance you see him next week in Philadelphia. So I don't want to rule out the possibility of Detroit beating Dallas tonight because it could happen. Now, I did pick Dallas to win. I did pick them to cover last week when the spread was 7. I did pick them to do all that. But I'm not ruling out the possibility of Detroit going in and beat Dallas tonight. If that happens, Detroit will clinch a playoff spot. But it doesn't matter because next week will still be for the NFC North. If all pans out, if my predictions were correct, Detroit's missing the playoffs. Detroit is going to miss the playoffs. This is why Mike McCarthy is your head coach. This is why Packers fans should not be worried. And in my own opinion, the Green Bay Packers have every single advantage going into next Sunday night, except the fact that the game is in Detroit. That's it. That is Detroit's only single advantage. We're going to get into Detroit's side of this game after the break, but man, Green Bay was elite against Minnesota, and they had to be. There were some questionable calls by the referees. Shocker. But Green Bay did everything they had to do to win. Jordy Nelson was amazing. Aaron Rodgers was everything he had to be against Minnesota. They had what was a 28-13 lead at halftime. 28-13. Green Bay was elite, and they have been elite for the last 5 games. Not perfect, but they've done what they had to do to get the wins. 5 in a row, 4-1 in your division. You have every single advantage next week. For Detroit, all they had to do was beat the Giants last week. That's all they had to do. And this would have been over. All they had to do was beat the Giants. They win the NFC North. And then Green Bay is fighting for a wild card. As of right now, Green Bay is the 6th seed in the playoffs. And, of course, we're going to make our picks at 3:30 for Week 17. And then I'm going to give my predictions on how the playoff matchups are going to look going into Wild Card Weekend. And, of course, we're going to include our college football picks as well when we talk about Alabama, Washington, and Clemson, Ohio State in a 3 o'clock hour. We're going to do all that later on. But sticking on Green Bay, they have every single advantage. That Green Bay team on Saturday looked like they are poised and ready for Detroit. And if you're a Green Bay fan, you should be happy. Detroit, I'm not counting it out yet. But Detroit fans should be concerned, and they should be feeling the pressure right now, and I'm going to explain why after the break. But if you are the Green Bay Packers right now, everything is going your way. You played a dominating game against a Minnesota Vikings team who showed life in the first half. Sam Bradford, I'm not saying he played bad. He threw an interception, but he threw 3 touchdowns, 382 yards. He drove down the field better than Aaron Rodgers did. 34 for 50. Could have been a little better with the percentage rate of his passing. But let's not pretend that Minnesota laid down and died at Lambeau on Saturday, because they didn't. Green Bay gave them a fight. Minnesota gave them a fight right back, and Green Bay won the fight. We fast forward to next week, New Year's Day 2017, for the NFC North title. Now, this is the second year in a row that Green Bay has been flexed into this game, and they did lose last year to Minnesota. I get that. They were not the same team last year. They were falling apart at the end of the year last year. It's almost like the exact opposite, where Green Bay was falling apart in the beginning of the year, and now here they are. They've won 5 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NFC. They are well on their way to win the NFC North. And in my own opinion, Green Bay is winning this game.